You've seen the videos. A rider twists the throttle, blows past a police car at 150 miles per hour, weaves through traffic, and disappears into the sunset. Looks like freedom, right? Here's the truth nobody is telling you. 99% of high-speed motorcycle chases end in catastrophe. That is not drama, that is physics and statistics. I am breaking down exactly why running from police on a motorcycle becomes financial suicide, legal disaster, and often literal suicide. We are covering 3 levels of destruction. First, the physics that guarantee you will fail. Second, the legal nightmare that follows if you survive. Third, the financial ruin that lasts decades. By the end, you will understand why that 10-minute thrill creates consequences that follow you for the rest of your life. Let us start with why you cannot win. The biggest myth is the speed differential. You think because your bike will do 180 miles per hour, and the police car tops out at 120 miles per hour, you have this. Wrong. Police do not need to catch you, they need to force an error. And at triple-digit speeds, errors are fatal. Reaction time matters. At 100 miles per hour, you are covering 147 feet per second. Your brain takes about 1 second to process a threat and react. That means you are riding blind into decisions you made 147 feet ago. A car pulls out, you are already committed. Debris in your lane, it is too late. Your margin for error has collapsed to 0. Every obstacle becomes a potential death sentence. That pothole you would normally avoid, at 60 miles per hour, it is a nuisance. At 120 miles per hour, it becomes an impact that destroys the bike and sends you airborne. That minivan changing lanes without signaling. At normal speeds, you brake or swerve. At chase speeds, you are choosing between a head-on collision and target fixation into a guardrail. Here is what happens to the human body in high-speed impacts. Your sport bike may be designed for speed, but your skeleton is not. At 80 miles per hour, the force of impact is roughly equivalent to falling from a 10-story building. Your gear may save your skin, but it will not save your spine or your brain when the brain bounces inside the skull. Sport bikes are designed for tracks, not public roads. Tracks have runoff zones, predictable surfaces, and no cross-traffic. A bike suspension is tuned for smooth pavement and controlled braking zones. Public roads have potholes, gravel, oil slicks, and cars driven by people scrolling social media. You are pushing equipment past its design limits in an environment it was never meant for. Then there is the helicopter. Once air support shows up, the chase is over. You just do not know it yet. A helicopter can track you at 120 miles per hour while staying at 1,000 feet. You cannot outrun radio waves. You cannot hide from thermal imaging. You can lane split through traffic all you want. They are coordinating roadblocks 3 miles ahead while you think you are escaping. The pilot is calm. The officers on the ground are setting up, and you are burning through your fuel tank at twice the normal rate. Even if you somehow make it to empty roads, you are running out of gas while they are just getting started. But here is what most riders do not realize. Even if you survive the crash, the legal system has already won. The charges that follow are far worse than the ticket you were running from. Let's say you beat the physics. Let's say you somehow make it home without crashing. Congratulations, you just made everything infinitely worse. Here's why. The moment you twist that throttle and run, you are not just getting a ticket. You are committing felony evasion. And here it gets worse, the charges stack. It is not just one count of fleeing. It is reckless endangerment for every car you pass. It is running a red light at every intersection you blow through. It is endangering a minor if there is a child in any of those cars. Prosecutors count each violation separately. That 10-minute chase, you are looking at 15 to 20 separate charges before you even crash. The mandatory minimum sentences are brutal. Judges have zero discretion when public safety is involved. Felony evasion in most states carries a minimum of 2 years. Add in the reckless endangerment charges, the traffic violations elevated to felonies, and you are looking at 5 to 10 years before any plea deals. And prosecutors have all the evidence they need. Every second of body cam footage, every frame of helicopter video, every dash cam from the pursuing units, it all becomes evidence of intent. They will play that footage in court, showing you weaving through traffic at 130 miles per hour, and the jury will see exactly what you were willing to risk. There is no defense for that. Then there is the civil liability. You are personally liable for every accident, every injury, every piece of property damage that happens during that chase. Someone swerves to avoid you and hits a pole. You are paying for their car, their medical bills, and their lost wages. A police officer crashes pursuing you. You are covering that too. We are talking hundreds of thousands in civil judgments that bankruptcy will not touch. Your license gone. Automatic suspension in most states, and it is permanent. You will never legally ride again. Some states will let you apply for reinstatement after 10 years if you can prove you are not a danger to society. Good luck with that felony record. Insurance companies will not touch you. Even if you get your license back somehow, you are uninsurable for any vehicle. That means no legal transportation. No car, no bike, nothing. You will be taking the bus for the rest of your life. Here is the plea deal trap. Prosecutors will offer you a deal. Plead guilty to reduced charges. Take 3 years instead of 10. Sounds good until you realize you are still a convicted felon. You are still on probation for years after release. One violation, missing a meeting, failing a drug test, getting pulled over, and you are back inside finishing the original sentence. The legal nightmare is just the beginning. Even if you survive the crash and the prison time, the financial destruction lasts decades. Let us talk about what this actually costs. This is the real cost, not the ticket you were trying to avoid. Legal defense for felony evasion starts at $50,000. That is before trial. If your case goes to trial, you are looking at $100,000 minimum in attorney fees. Public defenders are free, but they are handling 200 cases at once. You get what you pay for, and what you are paying for is a plea deal that can still destroy your life. But the legal fees are just the opening bill. The real financial destruction comes from 3 sources most writers never see coming. Restitution and court fines come next. You are paying for every resource used in that chase. Every cop car that pursued you costs about $50 per vehicle hour. Helicopter time runs from $1,000 to $2,000 per hour. If they had you up there for 30 minutes, that is $30,000 right there. Roadblocks, backup units, supervisors, it all gets billed to you. Total restitution easily hits $200,000 before we even talk about damages. Civil judgments from accidents are where the real destruction happens. If anyone gets hurt during that chase, and statistically someone will, you are looking at millions in liability. Your insurance will not cover it because you were committing felonies. That means personal liability. They can garnish your wages for the rest of your working life. Bankruptcy does not discharge injury judgments. You keep paying until you die. Lost income during incarceration adds up faster than you think. Even a 2-year sentence means you are losing from $80,000 to $100,000 in wages, assuming you had a decent job. But here's the real kicker. You are losing your career. Whatever job you had before, gone. Whatever career path you were on, destroyed. Felons do not get hired for professional positions. You are starting over at entry-level work, if anyone will hire you at all. The bike is seized immediately. That $20,000 sport bike you were riding will be auctioned off to cover costs. You do not get it back. You do not get the sale proceeds. It is just gone. And because it was used in the commission of a felony, your insurance will not pay out. You absorb that loss completely. Post-release financial prison is the long game. That felony record means you are locked out of most decent-paying jobs. Background checks disqualify you automatically. The jobs you can get pay $15 to $20 an hour instead of $50,000 to $70,000 a year. Over a 30-year career, that is $1.5 million in lost earning potential. Housing gets harder. Landlords run background checks. Felony evasion can show up as a violent crime in some databases. You get denied for apartments, which means you end up paying more for substandard housing in worse neighborhoods. Higher rent, worse conditions. fewer opportunities. Credit destruction follows you for decades. Those civil judgments and restitution orders trash your credit score. You pay 10% higher interest on everything, if you can get credit at all. Car loans, mortgages, even cell phone plans cost you more. Over a lifetime, that is $100,000 plus in extra interest payments. Here's what this actually looks like when you add it all up. One 10-minute chase, one rider, one decision. The total cost will make you sick. A real-world example. 10-minute chase, rider survives with major injuries. Legal fees, $75,000. Court fines and restitution, $180,000. Civil judgment from the family whose car he hit, $2.3 million. Lost wages during 3 years in prison, $120,000. Reduced lifetime earning potential, $1.2 million. Total financial damage, over $3.8 million. And he is 28 years old, so he has 40 years to live with those consequences. That is the math on running. A 10-minute chase creates a financial hole you will spend 20 plus years climbing out of, if you ever make it out at all. Now let us talk about why that 99% catastrophic failure rate is not an exaggeration, it is actually being generous. The real statistics are worse. Most high-speed motorcycle pursuits end in crashes within 5 to 10 minutes. Not successful escapes. Crashes. The National Highway Traffic Safety Administration tracks this data, and the numbers are brutal. Over 90% of motorcycle chases end with the rider on the ground, in custody or dead. The remaining cases are usually arrests that happen later when they track you down. Here is the problem with what you see online. You are watching survival bias in action. Every chase video that goes viral shows a successful escape. You know why? Because those escapes are rare enough to be interesting. Nobody posts the thousands of catastrophic failures. Nobody uploads helmet cam footage of their face hitting pavement at 90 miles per hour. You are seeing statistical outliers and thinking they represent normal outcomes. Police tactics have evolved specifically to counter sport bikes. Spike strips are deployed ahead of your position while you think you are getting away. Coordinated roadblocks cut off your exit routes. Air support hands off tracking between helicopters so there is no gap in coverage. The tactics are designed around the assumption that you will crash yourself before officers need to stop you directly. The injury and fatality rates tell the real story. High-speed motorcycle pursuits have the highest fatality rate of any vehicle chase category. Higher than cars, higher than trucks, higher than anything else on the road. When you crash at more than 100 miles per hour, the survival rate drops below 50%. When you survive, permanent disability is the norm, not the exception. And here is what nobody tells you about getting away. Say you make it home. You think you won, but license plate readers caught you 3 intersections back. Traffic cameras recorded your bike. Witnesses called in your description. Police show up at your door 2 days later with a warrant. You did not escape anything. You just delayed the arrest and added more charges. The psychological factor makes everything worse. Adrenaline and panic destroy decision-making. That is why riders fixate on a target and run into obstacles they could easily avoid at normal speeds. That is why they panic brake and lose traction. That is why they misjudge corners they have ridden 100 times. Your brain is not designed to make rational choices at 140 miles per hour while running from police. The aftermath for survivors is catastrophic. Traumatic brain injuries are common. Paralysis is common. Permanent disability is expected. We are not talking about road rash and broken bones. We are talking about feeding tubes, wheelchairs, and cognitive impairment that lasts the rest of your life. You might be thinking you know a guy who got away with it. That anecdote ignores the statistical reality, and it ignores the long-term consequences. Most so-called successful runners eventually get caught doing something else and face charges for the original chase. Your buddy's story does not change the math. So what actually happens when you make the decision to run? The decision point is instant. The moment you twist that throttle instead of pulling over, you have committed felony evasion. You have not escaped yet. You have not gotten away with anything. You have just guaranteed that everything that follows will be exponentially worse than the ticket you were avoiding. While you are weaving through traffic thinking you are escaping, here is what police are doing. The pursuing officer is on the radio calling out your position, your bike description, and your direction of travel. Dispatch is coordinating units ahead of you. They are requesting AIR support. They are setting up roadblocks at major intersections. They are pulling spike strips out of trunks. You're not in a race. You're riding into a trap that's closing while you think you're getting away. The crash is how most of these end. Target fixation into a guardrail because you looked at it instead of where you wanted to go. Panic breaking into a corner because you came in too hot. Misjudged lane position and clipped a mirror at 110. It doesn't matter how it happens. The result is the same. You're hitting pavement at lethal speeds. And physics doesn't care about your riding skills. If you survive the crash, here's what happens next. You're facing armed officers who just watched you endanger lives for 10 minutes straight. They don't know if you're armed. They don't know if you're going to fight. Compliance is life or death at this point. You follow commands exactly, or you're getting tased, pepper sprayed, or worse. The hospital to jail pipeline is real. Even if you're critically injured, you're under arrest. You have a cop posted outside your hospital room. You're handcuffed to the bed. Nurses are treating your injuries while you're in custody. The moment doctors clear you, you're transferred to county jail to wait for your first court appearance. That first appearance is brutal. Bail gets denied because you're a proven flight risk. You literally ran from cops. The judge isn't letting you out. You're sitting in county jail for months waiting for trial. No job, no income, no contact with the outside world except limited phone calls and visits. The plea or trial decision comes next. Prosecutors have helicopter footage, they have dashcam video, they have witness statements, they have your injuries as proof of reckless speed. The conviction rate approaches 100% because the evidence is overwhelming. Your attorney's job isn't to get you off, it's to minimize the damage. Sentencing is where mandatory minimums destroy you. The judge has no discretion. Felony evasion carries minimum prison time. Add in the reckless endangerment charges, the elevated traffic violations, and you're looking at years inside. 3 to 5 years is standard, more if anyone got hurt. Life after release is the long nightmare. You're a convicted felon. Background checks disqualify you from most jobs. Landlords reject your applications. You can't vote. You can't own firearms. You're on probation with strict conditions. One violation and you're back inside finishing your sentence. The financial consequences follow you forever. Wage garnishment takes 25% of every paycheck for restitution and civil judgments. Your credit is destroyed. You're paying higher interest on everything. You're locked out of career advancement because of that felony record. That 10-minute thrill, it just created decades of consequences. Every single day for the next 20 years, you'll be paying for that decision. Financially, legally, personally, the math is simple. Pull over, take the ticket, keep your life. The ticket costs $500. Running costs $500,000 plus, and years of your freedom. Which part of this disaster surprised you most? The physics, the legal nightmare, or the financial ruin? Drop a comment and let me know. Hit subscribe so we can keep this community riding smart and staying alive.